Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing 3 Halloween fall crafts using these items that I thrifted all 3 pieces from my local thrift store. They are all wooden tour cutting boards, and we have this fun little kind of cubby cup holder, whatever wall hanger you want to do. So we are going to adventure into milk paint today. If you're not familiar with milk paint, they are powdered paints that you mix a 1-to-1 ratio with. I'm doing In a Pickle, Artichoke, and this is Curry. And you mix them for about a couple minutes. You let them set for 10 minutes or so to thicken up, and then you paint them. Now, I did prime everything with shellac. I did 2 coats of shellac, and that's just because these are raw pieces of wood. And milk paint, the point of milk paint is to create that like crackle and aged look. And if you just put it on raw wood, it is going to suck it up and not crackle. So this is after 2 coats that I did let dry completely. I did use my heat gun, and that does give you more crackling. Just be warned with a heat gun because of the shellac. If you hold the heat on in one place too long or too close, it can bubble on you. So you want to be even with your heat application. But if you want a lot of crackle, that's the way to go. So this is from an Etsy store, and I will link their shop in the description box below. They make some of the most, if not the most, amazing reproduction labels, and we are going to pick a label from here. These are just paper fussy cut die cuts. They scan in these images, they print them and cut them for reproduction, junk journaling, all kinds of whatever you want to use them for. But we are going to pick one of these to decoupage onto the front of this little cubby. So I ended up going with the Halloween Frolics. It just seemed to be the most fitting for the size and the space. So we're going to use a little Mod Podge. I'm going to brush it on and then put our label on over that. And then we're going to do a little bit of Mod Podge over. I like Mod Podge. It dries super fast. I didn't have to use any kind of heat or anything. Like literally in a couple minutes, it was done completely dry. I also, if I didn't mention, I did sand this before I applied the label, and now what I'm applying is my Folk Arts antiquing wax, and this is what's going to finish and seal your milk paint in. You do have to seal milk paint in with some sort of sealer, whether it's a wax, a glaze, something. It has to be sealed. You can do clear wax. I like antiquing wax because it does kind of give it this decrepit like age. It's been sitting around for a long time in a garage or in a shelf or someone's house that's been unearthed, and you can see the difference it makes in your paint, and it really does create such a great effect. I'm going to show all the products at their final look at the end. And so for now, we're going to move on to this cutting board. And for this one, I am painting it in the Curry. Again, just the reiterate, the milk paint is a powder paint. If you've never used it before, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So whatever size you scoop of the powder, you want to use that same size or amount of water. Some people like it thicker. You can use less water, but you want it a workable consistency. And this is what it looks like after 2 coats of the Curry. One side did end up being more chippy than the other, and I take a 220 grit sanding block. I got these off of Amazon, I believe. I'm just sanding off, and whatever chips off, chips off. That's the beauty of this. It's meant to be imperfectly imperfect. So I'm just getting all of the little loose bits off with my sanding block and kind of giving a smooth surface. And then we are going to use this stencil, and I will put where I got this stencil from. This is the same stencil I used for the cat plate, which also, by the way, I found more plates, so I am going to be making more of those cat plates. I will link that video in the description box below if you have not seen that video where I use this same stencil. But this time around, I'm going to use the stencil kind of more in the fashion it's supposed to be. In the other video, I had traced it, but this time we're going to use these sponges. I picked these up from the Dollar Tree. Did this technique work? It's going to depend on who you ask. If this was a different kind of stencil that required very crisp lines, I would say this did not work. But because this is a Halloween image and I used this, I don't recommend this technique if you want crisp lines. It did pool a little bit underneath. Part of it is probably I had too much paint on my sponge. But this is also my first time doing this. So you can see how it kind of gave this bubbling where it pooled around all the edges. But it actually worked in this situation because it kind of gave it that like drippy Halloween font look. There's 3 layers to this stencil. We did the first one and now this is the second stencil, and this is building the face. So I'm using Waverly's chalk paint in pumpkin and then the other craft kind of a limey green for the eyes. So I'm using a brush this time instead of the sponge to see if that gives me a better effect. But I also know that if this does pool out, I can go back and clean it up with a fine line brush with my black. So I know I've got that going for me. So I'm going to stencil these on, and then once it's dry, we're going to seal it in with wax. So for this last stencil, I really only used it for the nose and the teeth, and I actually ended up penciling in all of the uh, whisker lines because I knew I wanted to be more exaggerated with them than what the stencil provides. So I just drew with a pencil, and then I went in and I cleaned up all my lines first with my very fine favorite nail art brush. It's a very, very thin brush, as you can see. So I'm going in and fixing all of those lines and crisping them up, and this worked perfectly. And then I'm going to go in with white and sharpen up the teeth lines, as well as go ahead and add in my whiskers because I want them more exaggerated than, as I said, what the stencil allowed. So now we are all dry and it's time to seal in our wax. But before we do that, I'm going to take a very fine 220 grit block and we are going to distress. I know we just painted this, but this is a really fine grit. It's not going to completely obliterate your image. I did press a little bit harder on those parts where I had paint where I didn't want it, but then I used a light touch for the rest of it. This did end up dispersing black acrylic paint powder from sanding into all of those nooks and crannies of the crackling of the milk paint. So on the side with the cat, I used my clear antiquing wax, or my clear wax, not antiquing wax. And then on the back side, I used the antiquing wax. So clear on this side, so it still ages it, but I already had black dust from the acrylic paint in there, and so I didn't need to add more darkness. So I think you guys get the gist of that. And now we've already moved on into our final project. And again, like I said, I will show all of the final products together at the end of the video. So same thing, now we're using the artichoke on this other little cutting board. And this one is going to be a little more of a fall theme, but it is going to have some pumpkins and squash and lots of mushrooms. You'll see me get a little carried away with mushrooms. So I'm painting all of this in the 2 coats of artichoke, and then I went into my IOD transfer millets pages and I'm using the vegetables and the mushroom pages. So I pulled the pumpkin squashes from there, and then I cut out a bunch of different mushrooms, and we're just gonna go ham with applying all of these IOD transfers. So if you've never used IOD transfers before, Decor. These are basically a sticker rub-on transfer. You peel away the backing, you apply it where you want. There's grid lines to make sure things are straight, but you know, it's really however you want. And you can layer these on top of each other. You can really create quite a lot of fun collage depths, little scenes with these. They're so much fun. But like milk paint, they also have to be sealed in, so they kind of go hand in hand in my opinion with milk paint and these IOD transfers, because I like to seal everything in antiquing wax, and they do really well with both of these. So I am just going to apply all of my fun little veggies and mushies and kind of go to town, and I will let you guys enjoy a 10 times speed of me applying these. Overall, this probably took me about 20 minutes to apply all of these. So I did decide that it needed more, so I pulled some butterflies with some orange and black and cream colors in them. These are also from the Millets pages, the IOD transfer booklet, and it's a very large booklet. You get so many images. This is probably one of the best bang for your buck transfer booklets. So I put 3 butterflies in total, and I think that really did finish this off. And so we are going to, as we have previously used the folk art antiquing wax. This antiquing wax is more of a watery consistency. It's not so much a paste or like a true wax. So I keep it in a squeeze bottle to dispense it and control how much. And they all turned out so beautiful. I don't know really which one is my favorite. I love all 3 of them. I think the mushroom cutting board and this Halloween frolics might be my favorite. I really do love them all, and they look great together. And as always, all of these are available in my Etsy store for purchase. I am trying to create as much kind of a widespread of unique fall and Halloween decor, and I really hope you guys are enjoying these videos. If you could let me know which your favorite is in the comments below. I am open to ideas as well, but I do have a whole long list of crafting ideas for the fall and holiday seasons. So I will see you guys on the next one. Until then, have a great week, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.